Thank you for joining the Once Changing the World, which is India's first future tech meets sustainability podcast. And today I'm delighted and honored to have with me Salman Promon, who's a very young entrepreneur and leader in the space of science and technology. He's the lecturer at the Department of Life Sciences, Independent University of Bangladesh. He's involved in teaching, student activities, research, technology and innovation, and social development initiatives. Currently, his research line is focused on regenerative medicine, industrial biotechnology, biomedical engineering, cancer research, cell and molecular biology. Salman is the founding member of Dhaka Fab Lab Society and Cancer Care and Research Trust. He's also the co-founder of Star Labs BD, the first community biolab in Bangladesh, and he's been working to establish a citizen science network as a base of an open science society in Bangladesh. So Salman, a truly pleasure and honor to have you on the podcast. It'll be really cool if you could set context by giving your introduction, background, and what you've been doing.
Thank you so much. And first of all, I really appreciate to invite me here in your such honorable podcast, and I'm really privileged and honored. Primarily, I am a science teacher, and I have done my master's and honors in biotechnology from BRAC University, so in Bangladesh actually. So it's like basically my focus is on biological research, biomedical research. Since I'm a lecturer, I'm teaching in university classes for that, but that's my academic profile. Of course, I'm doing like research and everything, but from the social responsibility, and there are like so many resource limitation in our country, and there are like so many gaps. I have been like growing up, like watching them. That's why I have involved myself with those other part of the works I am involved in or like I'm doing right now. First of all, if I wanted to talk about one of my initiatives, that's Mechamind. Mechamind is one of my companies that's an edutech, and we're basically trying to work on skill-based STEM education for underprivileged people. Why? I'm coming to that later, but how it started. So, of course, like I have been like working with science projects and stuff from my childhood, but life is not like a project. Life is not like you are getting into some sort of competitions and like having some prizes and people like appreciating you. Life is not like that. You have to think about the real life problems and maybe working on real life solution, because at the end of the day, like global economy, social economy, everything matters. And your skill matters, earning matters, and how those are related to skills and STEM. So now I want to tell you a story. It was like when I was a college student, like I just get into college, and I saw an orphan lost his hand, like from an accident. And as a biology student, I don't know what to do. And it like hit me really, really hard. He had to take care of a family. So I was thinking, okay, so he lost the hand. He was the earning member. So how can he continue life from that with the functionality that he lost? So I was looking for, okay, maybe there are like cheap options in Bangladesh that we have prosthetics, but I found out the prosthetics were like static. He can't grab anything. He can't work with that. It's just a model. So I was thinking, okay, why not functional prosthetics? Then I found out it's like pretty expensive. Even in the Western countries, the fully functional prosthetics are like pretty much like expensive and like under research. So I was thinking, okay, they can't afford it, because most of the worker class people or most of the people who are prone to accidents or they're who can actually get injured in this kind of occupational hazards, they are from underprivileged class. So they can't afford things. So I was thinking I have to find out some functional prosthetics which is functional at the same time and also cost effective, and which can be made with our local resource. So I was thinking, okay, we need some basic motor functions, and I thought like what can be done with our limited resource. So we came up with the voice command system, because we need like 5-10 motor functions should be enough for like people who lost a hand. So that's how we started, and we did it under $100. So that's how it started. It was not that big research. It was nothing that time, but at least that people it could afford it. And we have created this very cheap module for charging and everything. So then it hit me, okay, maybe there are other problems we are not touching, but if we can put some logical reasoning behind it and try to come up with like situations where we can use the local resource and pretty simple things, but it can actually work in some extent, at least to go on to solve the real life problem. So this is the initial story, how like many years back, like 5-6 years back, I came to this innovation kind of research and initiatives, and eventually it spreaded.
Lovely. How cool is that, Salman? I mean, it's we need more minds such as yourself who who are who are not scared by the situation, but leverage what is there and create innovations, for everyone, and through your journey, you mentioned about, creating Mechamind, a skill-based STEM education for the underprivileged. Then you gave me the story about the orphan you saw, without an arm, and you said, can we build functional prosthetics to regenerative medicine, the first of its kind 3D printing bioprinter in Bangladesh. These are, at one point in time, only like those big companies, the Googles or the big tech companies or the big pharma companies could even dream about achieving it, But I think that the world has changed, because of the accessible of education, democratization of education, because of things like MOOCs, online learning, and we have so much of access. So what I'm trying to say is that today, I think the only thing that stops a person from creating their preferred future is a desire and intent. And if you have a desire and intent, you could be sitting at any corner of the world, and you could be creating mind-blowing innovation which could completely disrupt the world. So I hope that there are more people such as yourself who take charge and lead and say, okay, here, even if we don't have resources, I mean, the financial resources, we'll do with whatever we have and build quality innovation for everyone. So let's go step by step, because you've been doing a lot of things. So let's start with Mechamind. How did it originate?
Thank you so much. So it's basically from a need. I mean, I believe in holistic development. Like if I am developing myself, maybe I can positively impact a couple of person, 100 maybe. But I was thinking, if I can actually help significantly a good number of people, like it can grow exponentially. I mean, imagine if I'm like helping one person who is a very resourceful one, and for some of my support, he or she or they grew up into something, and now they have established a very good thing, and like thousands of people can be affected by it positively. And imagine like if I am like harboring and like fostering this kind of minds, so it will be an exponential growth in holistic development instead of like focusing on myself. So yeah, I have lost a lot of opportunities due to that, but the impact created by that, it was huge, because they are taking it through. I don't have to help even each and every people by myself. Maybe helping some key person, helping some people who actually can do it. I mean, they can carry it forward. So that's how we have created this one. And number two, like if I give you some example, I was actually a part of another initiative that is X Genomics. Basically, during the COVID period, the people, they were into, so many people who are in biology, they were into sequencing, because DNA sequencing, that DNA testing, I mean, the, like PCR testing, RT-PCR and everything, it was like very, very important during that time. And with some people who are expert in genome sequencing, we have created course for bioinformatics, and we opened it for everyone. People from 52 countries actually enrolled in our course. That was free. Still, I am actually running a lot of free courses for everyone, skill-based courses, so that they can use it. So that we don't want to keep education, useful education, expensive and paid, inaccessible to people. So that's why we have created this. That was one of the feeling behind. I'm not saying the idea. I'm saying feeling behind creating Mechamind. So the first student of Mechamind was underprivileged slum kids of our country. So I teach at university in the weekdays, and I go to slums in the weekends. And you'll be so amazed. I mean, the thing I teach to my university students, they may take some time to learn that. And those slum kids, like 3, 4, standard 5, 6, they're actually learning biology, molecular biology, engineering, these kind of things within minutes, within like one session. So they're like curriculums for sustainable architecture, sustainable urbanization, molecular biology, engineering, so that we are thinking, okay, these people, when they're done with their initial study, like primary level study, they'll just go for earning because they're poor, right? They have to earn money, and they'll be derailed, and somehow they get into, a very demeaning kind of works. But how about we equip them with some skills? Those are very useful for the industry, because we don't have to make them scientists. They have to earn. So how can this, and we don't have that much of employment. So what can be done? Well, a country like us, we are very much relying on the outsourcing. We are relying on industry, and we are relying on some sort of like labor export. So and some assembly industry that start getting in like countries like us. So we are trying to teach them an alternative of vocational studies, and like in some sort of skills that can be utilized, and they can have employment, and the country can earn money as well by exporting the skills. So it's like economical development at the same time. At the same time, their own socio-economical development. I mean, like national and social, both kind of economical development. And number 2, this was one of the projects. And number 2 was like real life problem solution. Well, that I just mentioned that we can do a lot of things, a lot of research, but you have to understand like what kind of country we are. I want to mention one thing, that is whatever I'll be talking about today, it will be very much grounded. It will be not like rocket science. It will not like fascinating science. It would be science of people, science of like underprivileged people. So what they need skills that can give them money. Because they need opportunities to live, right? Mechamind was like working on real life problem solution, giving skills, STEM-based skills, especially to the people who are especially the underprivileged people, so that they can be useful to the country's economy and their own lives. So that's why we have initiated this one, and linked to that we have created Star Labs. Star Labs, I'm actually wearing the t-shirt right now. So it's Science, Technology, and Arts Research Lab. I'm inspired by the DC Comics Star Labs, but it's basically the first community bio lab in Bangladesh. Community lab, I should say, not only bio, because we have conference and seminar and classroom, and we have biology lab, we had engineering lab, we have like library and stuff, so that independent researchers, the people who don't have the access to labs but they want to do some prototyping and stuff, kind of like a fab lab, but also other amenities as well. They can do business. They can actually use this space as their business ground, and like having like business license and everything. And also people can actually take class here, or they can arrange workshops and everything. So many, basically it's a learning hub kind of things. So
how cool is that, the way you have thought about everything, because I think the education system needs to be changed. Today, I think the education system, the rote learning system, at least here in India, has got so much problems. And here you are in Bangladesh, and you're pushing an education system which is skill-based. And what I like is that your approach, where you're saying that instead of doing high-level science, you're trying to create these skill-based learning, and making sure that this is science for the people. So the learners, while learning, they come to a point where they can start monetizing and becoming self-sufficient, and that should always be the goal. And I love the way that you have evolved your organization from Mechamind to the Star Labs, and how holistically you're working towards, or your vision of creating an ecosystem which will not just enable the lower rung of the society, but also in the longer run, enable the country itself, and and I hope that there's more listeners who pick this up, your enthusiasm and your hard work. And I think that everything starts with hard work. I'm sure you must have missed out a lot of opportunities, but I think that the longer impact that you'll be making will really come to fruition in the next few years because of the works that you're doing. So the second story the story that you mentioned about, you're coming across the orphan prosthetic, creating a prosthetic limb. Talk about that. Where do you stand at this point of time? How did that happen? And what comes next? No prosthetic limb that you're creating.
As I mentioned, I started it just from a sympathetical and empathetical situation and looking for a problem solution. But then many people actually approached us and supported us to take it in further. Many people actually suggested us to make it a sort of a product, selling it, but I still kept it as an open source product. So how we approached, you may ask, how am I getting money for that? Because it takes money to make one. So I must thank all the people, especially my teachers and many of the industrialists. They came up with their support and they gave us fund. So what we did, we never charged any patient. So we are fundraised or took the donation and utilized that for development of our product and R&D as well, not only developing product for people, but also research on it. And we contacted the hospitals, and the doctors gave us the estimates and everything, and then according to the estimate, we create the product and give it to them. So there is a certain stage on it. First, we had to work on fully mechanical device without any electronics. Somehow, depending on where the hand or the limb is cut. So that's one phase. That's the very primitive model. And another one is voice activated. It's cheap, but it's kind of functional. And then we have developed eventually. But now I want to share one of the thing that is, I got one of my students. He actually born without any leg, without any arm. So imagine when I got the cases that for the accident, people lost their limbs. So make some product for them. It was easy because the brain actually knew, because brain was used to used to that motor function. Because the hand was there, brain operated it for some time before it got cut out or amputated. But the person who is actually born without limb, so the brain doesn't know what is hand, what is motor function in that limb. So now we are actually working on machine learning based and EMG signal based. We have actually developed the sensor. We have developed that. Algorithm so that and also that the noise cancellation. I mean, the EMG signal that coming from the brain to that portion of the remaining part of the body, and how we can actually designate the remaining signals, EMG signals, to operate the hand, which is never there. So it's a challenge how to teach the AI to behave like a limb, a part of a human being. So now we are working on it. After maybe 1 month, I'll be able to give some good news, because we are testing on it. So there are some good news coming very soon.
Would be cool if you could start explaining or elaborating what is regenerative medicine, so the audiences get to know about it, because there's some really cool things happening in the space of regenerative medicine. There is Michael Levin at one end of the spectrum, who's leveraging bioelectricity and they're cutting up planarians into hundreds of pieces and making it all come back again. So you would really appreciate if you could elaborate or explain what regenerative medicine is and how it's going to upend healthcare?
So first of all, imagine, for example, I can say my mother's example. One of her kidneys are like, is totally damaged. It's irreversibly damaged. So actually that inspired me to come into this 3D bioprinting or tissue regenerative medicine research. So the it's really, really hard to get a kidney donor, and it's hard to get a match. And sometimes the treatment, the surgery and everything, replacement and transplantation is pretty expensive. So what will you do? Will you die? The technology brought us here. So what can be done? So one thing we know, that when we are only two cells, a sperm and egg, and it fused and we got the zygote, and from that we are here, right? This organism, I'm like talking with you right now, and we were only a fused cell during the first interaction of the sperm and egg, right? So and from the zygote, now we are here. So there must be some process by which that one cell, the fused one, converted into so many types of cells. My hair is one kind of things. My heart, my eyes, different part of your body has different kind of function, the tissues and cells, right? So how can we have this much of varieties all over our body, but we originate from only one part, one single 46 two in our languages we call it like complete set or 2n nucleus. 46 chromosomes, right? A set of chromosomes. So how we came here? So now think about it. There was one type of mother or one type of omnipotent cells that has the ability to convert into different kind of other cells. We call it stem cell. That means this cell is like has the ability to be anything, right? So we call it stem cells. So that means we may use that cell to create different part of our body, maybe. Of course, they're like different stage of stem cells. The initial stem cells, the omnipotent one, the pluripotent stem cells, they can actually convert into so many other cells. But the adult stem cells, they don't have that much of ability to convert into so many things. But the totipotent or the pluripotent, the initial kind of stem cells, that can be actually utilized. So these are the stem cells. So now the case I presented in front of you, that is a patient, the kidney is damaged. Now you're not getting any donor. The surgery is expensive, and somehow after the transplantation, the body is rejecting it. So what can be done? So if we have access and the technology to utilize those stem cells to make that organ, the damaged organ, and you're taking the stem cells from the very patient, that means that's your own cell, so your body won't reject it, maybe, right? And also, since you have the supply of the stem cells, because cell can grow, you can make so many numbers of the cells. You can like multiply it in a huge number. Like, the yogurt, if you put 1 spoon of yogurt in milk, and overnight it will grow in the whole milk, and you'll get a lot of yogurt. So the cells are like that. If you take stem cells and you can grow it, like culture it, and you can have a lot of stem cells. So how about you actually have a store of it, and now you are using your own stem cells to create your own damaged organ? How cool is that, right? So that's how the regenerative medicine initial idea of it. So now I'm getting into the technical part. So the field of tissue engineering and regenerative medicine that work toward creating functional tissue constructs, mimicking the native tissue. That means like it's copying the tissue we are targeting for repair or replacement of damaged tissues or whole organ. people are still working on it to work on whole organ, but they are actually repairing some damaged tissue. So evolved rapidly over first few decades. So however, the traditional tissue engineering approach comprising scaffolds like the structures, the skeletons, growth factors, and cells, like imagine like that. For a building, we use the rod structures and we put bricks and we put like cement and stuff. So in the bricks are like cells, the scaffolds are the rods, and the other like growth factors and other things are like the cements, the biomolecules. Sorry, the bio. The all the other factors, growth factors, and also you have extracellular matrix and stuff. So those are like cement. They're putting the cells together. So that's how we can think about a 3D culture of the cells. It's a very promising sector of regenerative medicine. So the regenerative medicine is like is basically having so much success to repair wounds, and repair the tissue or damaged tissues and organs. So, and these growth factors and cells can be fabricated in 3D shapes for organ regeneration and clinical application, and also from the economical viewpoint, maybe 3D bioprinting can kick in, because regenerative medicine somehow they have some limitations, but the 3D bioprinting is extended application of manufacturing the organ parts or the part of the tissues. So regenerative medicine can actually repair your damage, repair some of the degenerative conditions, and it can actually heal some of the injuries. For example, bone, like art, and different like tissue damage, this kind of things. So, and the key point of this thing is using stem cells, which actually has the ability to grow and cement the wound. So this is the basic thing. When you have a crack in your wall, you put cement and repair it. In regenerative medicine, it sort of works like that. And I'm telling it for a very layman's term, actually.
Thank you for explaining it, that how stem cells are the most important ingredient. And through stem cells, you can create induced pluripotent stem cell, and that's the source code of life. And you could use it for tissue engineering, repairing, tissues, and also creating organs, eventually, because organs shortage is such a huge problem. There are so many patients around the world who are waiting for organs, and if we have something like this solving the problem, I'm sure neither your mother, neither any of those patients will have to wait for an organ. And I hope that you forefront this conversation. Now, in the course of conversation, you also mentioned that you're researching on cancer research. Would you like to talk a little bit about that?
Right. So the current research I'm doing, that is, we're trying to isolate anti-cancer protein from a microorganism, and is the reason we are working on it because many of the cancer cells, for example, breast cancer, they are like types of breast cancer. They are not receptive, or they're not getting affected by steroid medication. So we are trying to work on this protein that can actually work on those, cancer cells. Those are not responsive to medication. So anyways, so now think a patient in our third world country where they are receiving so many types of medication where things are not working. They are getting a lot of chemotherapeutics, they are oral radiation therapies and stuff. So how do you know which drug is going to work? I mean, sometimes doctors, they don't know, they just, they experiment on the patient. So how about this? You take out the biopsy sample of the cells of that particular cancer patient, take out the cells, and using 3D bioprinting, you create the tumor model outside of the body. you can create a lot of it, right? Because you can actually culture the cells. So instead of like giving combinations of drugs, giving the experimental drugs on the patient, you may give the drugs or apply the drugs on the the 3D printed tumors you have created by 3D bioprinting. So that's how you can actually experiment a lot of combinations. And when you see the best one, maybe you apply that drug on the patient. So it may save time. It may save the tremendous pain of the patient, and also it may save some money, right? So that's how I'm connecting this. That in our situation, in a country like us where we don't have that much of equipment, how about we don't give and our people, they're not that much of rich, and many of the cancer patients, they're actually very poor class. So as I said, I'm doing science for people science. It's not rocket science. We are trying to create real life problem. So that's how I'm using 3D bioprinting for tumoroids, tumor screening, so that we can actually reduce some time, money, and the pain of the cancer patient, the poor cancer patients. That's my personal goal, to have a lab with industry, academia, and clinic, so that our people can work on the genes and the factors of our own cancers. Like the type of the factors of the cancer, it varying geologically. Like different countries may have different kind of factors, different kind of genes. So, and all the literatures, all the scientific innovations or the discoveries we are having about the cancer, the treatments, they're basically actually developing on the countries like India, countries like United States, or like other developing countries, Europe and Australia, Canada, this kind of area, right? So maybe all of the factors, all the genetic markers, they can match with our country. So my goal is to work on that, creating the research environment with the clinic, because the people will be here and we can actually work with their samples and create this research environment where our students, our university researchers will be like, expert. They will get expert on it, so that they can come up with treatment. They can come up with, early screening technologies with our own samples.
Lovely. Salman, first of all, congratulations. Wish you the very best. The way you thinking out, solutions for a problem is so holistic and is so rooted to the country. I hope that there's more support from the investor community, from the government, and I hope they understand that the kind of deep impact this research of yours will be created if it kind of goes from the lab to the market, because cancer is a huge problem, and the approach of yours, taking the biopsy and then creating a 3D model out of it, and understanding, going towards more of like a personalized medicine zone, so you treat a person with that the problem. So I think we wish you the very best, and I hope that there's more investors who come in and support what you're doing. Now, you are also the founder of iGEM Bangladesh, which kind of promotes synthetic biology. So I'll appreciate if you kind of explain what synthetic biology is and how will that play a role in healthcare.
So synthetic biology is very broad things, but if I again bring it down to layman's term, so we all have genetic sequence, right? The organism, they have the organic matters, they have genetic sequence. So see, for example, you have 10 sequence, A, T, G, C, T, A, C, that kind of sequence. So, and you can like permutate and make combination of it. And all the combinations may have different kind of features. Maybe number one combination will give you like blue hair. Number two combination can give you yellow hair. This kind of, that's how you have 10 combination, 10 colors. But how about I want to create number 11 number of color. So I don't have the sequence here. What can be done? All the combinations are already tried and everything, exhausted. So what if I introduce new sequences there? What if I have created a new sequence artificially and introduced to that model, introduced to that nature model, and that will produce a completely new feature. So basically, I'm synthesizing genetic sequence. So this is the very, very, like, what should I say, the layman's term of synthetic biology, but the description can vary to person and depending on the application of it. But see, you have seen, maybe you are watching a lot of pollution going on all over your country and environment, right? So now you are trying to do, okay, I will do some bioremediation. That means you are using microorganism to eat or like metabolize the pollution and like make it into like less harmful matters. So not all the microorganism can actually metabolize the pollution. So how about you have genetically engineered the microorganism? Like you have introduced a gene from somewhere else and make it a recombinant DNA, like using the recombinant DNA technology, and now the microorganism can actually metabolize the the pollution and actually reducing the pollution. But you brought the gene from another organism, so you didn't actually make it. But how about you didn't get any organism that can actually donate that kind of gene? So now you have created some part of the gene, like synthesizing, and you have created the sequence, and that's actually working, metabolizing the pollution. So that's how you are actually introducing synthetic biology in that system. So this is the basic of it, and actually you can create a lot of sequence. You can actually make combination with the artificial one with the already existing one in nature, or you can completely go like artificial, but it's not very much active or like implemented yet. But some of the artificial like semi-synthesized sequence with existing natural sequence are combined, and like they are actually working. So you can find a lot of pharmaceutical and also industrial and experimental use of those. So basically you are synthesizing new sequences and introducing to modify your own model to have desired features from that sequence. This is the basic of synthetic biology, and by that you can actually create vaccines, you can create medication, you can create products, many kind of product. It can be pharmaceutical product, it can be industrial product, so these kind of things.
Salman, really, really appreciate you taking time and being part of the podcast. You're on a wonderful journey, and I think we need more of yourself. If we have more people such as yourself, I think the world will be such a better place to live in. In the next 10 years, how do you see the healthcare evolving, and, how do you make it accessible for everyone,
First of all, the world is actually changing at a much higher rate than before. These changes are becoming more radical because you actually cannot have a very static and very utopian world. Because you see, if you put a couple of people in a room and you give everything they need, after some day, they will create the chaos, because people, human beings, they need excitement, they need problem to solve. So that's how, if you want peace all the time, it's not actually practically possible. So the world leaders or the influencers, they are actually creating shifts so that people can find new things to thrive on, so that they can keep themselves busy to go towards something. So the people are saying the artificial intelligence will take all the jobs. No, it's a phase of thing. The works we are doing right now, the struggle we are having right now, maybe the technological advancement, they will take over those. But maybe that will open a whole new window for the human being to strive and to work on. So I can't pinpoint what kind of things will occur. But yes, one thing, that is agriculture, that means food, and also healthcare. These two things are actually very constant thing, because you need food and you need healthcare. But it's for the time being. I mean, as long as you are having the body, the biological need and everything, you need the healthcare and you need the like agriculture. So I think there will be like the colonization. It will like interplanetary colonization. It will have a very bigger impact, because maybe many of our industries, food and other kind of industries, will be like shifted to this, and that will make our environment a little bit maybe easier for us. And so this are like my thought on like food and the healthcare. New disease will be there. So and also quantum computing is coming. So maybe the early detection of disease will be a very prominent sector of business and research. So this is very like a specific thing if I want to mention. And of course, they're like broad sense. Antibiotics are going like almost they are gone. Antibiotic resistance will be a very much, the next pandemic will be the antibiotic resistance. So maybe in that time we have to work on novel therapeutics and maybe a mechanical and like engineering approach to tackle disease, not maybe biological. So I think it's high time to work on machine and biology together, so that we can actually like fight this kind of disease or the pandemics where biological approaches will be like no longer viable. So these are some of my thoughts.
Salman, thank you for taking time and being part of the podcast. You're a brilliant mind asking really deep questions. And the way you looked at things and you spread out your wings is really, really inspirational, right from your teaching efforts at the university to creating Mechaminds, to the Star Labs, to looking at an approach of making healthcare accessible, affordable, equitable for everyone. And everything that you're looking at is you mentioned, science for the people, because, when I have conversation, there are a lot of people, who can get easily sidetracked by the awe and hype of, new technologies. But I think, like you said, we cannot, I don't think we will get to a place or a world which is completely utopian. It might be protopian, which is a mix of utopian and dystopian. But I don't think we will come to a world which is completely utopian, which will have, no disease and where we'll have a future of abundance. I don't think so.
So
the world which is coming, which you pointed out, antibiotic resistance, and so we need to, I think, as come together as a global nation. Today I think we're so divided, and I think politics is something which is pushing us human beings away. Today we're living in a world where education is knowledge, and I think if people have the desire and intent, anybody and everybody sitting at any point or corner of the world can create huge disruption, and you are a complete example for that. Wish you the very best for all of the things you're doing, right from your education to your entrepreneurial journey, from your research in 3D bioprinting, cancer biology, prosthetics, and so on and so forth. But we wish you the very best, and I hope that, like I said, there are more of you in the world. I think Bangladesh should be very, very proud of having you. And to my listeners, if you like what you see in here, then please press the subscribe button. And until next time, see you guys. Bye-bye. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this.
Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity.